Hope you've been studying up on your fierce entrepreneurship. This is We're Reading for You. I'm your host, Margot Poupard, Gambit Magazine contributing editor, joined by my fellow contributing editor, Samir Roy.
Oh, yes, the co-host extraordinaire. Sorry, we had to sound I had to sound a little British to sound like I was more official judge on this show.
Oh, okay. Is that what it does? I thought you just could make stupid bitch comments like Kelly and we can earn our seat on a panel.
Oh my god, well, my burns would be way more creative and way less convoluted, I think, than Kelly's.
I don't even think her burns are convoluted.
Stupid.
They're just stupid.
Well, there's
and
like so
bad.
many, like, oh, you remind me of a movie from 1992 with an alien, and it's like, there's so many weird, like, specific components of what she sees, and I'm like,
I feel like
how are you seeing this?
She's trying to build a burn sandwich. And she's, like, trying to layer in all of these things and trying to make it, like, this really artisanal, crafted burn sandwich. And it just fucking falls flat on its face every time she opens her stupid mouth. And she doesn't... Just your track record alone already makes what you're about to say irrelevant before you even finish saying it.
We always know she's going to be, but it was like, I don't know, it's just the dour expression on her face at every possible moment is kind of an inspiration in a way, because that's real commitment, you know, to a life that clearly is not completely happy for you.
Yes, if you want to be Emily Strange as an adult every day of your life.
Well, I was thinking
that's how you do a burn, Kelly.
Ring, like the little girl from The Ring crawled out of the TV and grew up and saw the world for what it was.
And brushed her hair.
Maybe.
Yeah, it's like she's doing... Here's a good burn for you, Kelly. It's like you're doing 1984 nihilism, and no one's really trying to hear it.
Well, the nihilists in The Big Lebowski were a lot more amazing than she was.
Yeah, but that's not... What year did Lebowski come out? Like
that was the 90s.
Yeah, so I'm giving her, like, 80s new wave nihilism.
Like Robert Palmer video, but she got... she was a dancer who's now out of shape.
Ooh, yeah. You know what? I feel like that applies to her, but is like slightly too much of a compliment, so we'll have to circle back on that.
I know, that's true. But nonetheless, she proved why I hate listening to her speak in this episode very well, I think, for everyone. I mean, like, we may be a little biased because we really love Nyle.
Yeah.
And she, like, was trying...
she just missed the point and kept trying to oversell it by saying things that she thought were controversial.
To be the bitch, and she was trying to be like, no. That's all I asked. And I'm like, no, this is not a court of law. You're not proving a case here. We all know this is bullshit. Because it was just so scripted. The whole thing felt so much more written than any of the other episodes really have so far. And we know that a lot of them have felt very... You could sense the writer's presence throughout it. And this one was like the worst
We were off to a bad start within like the first 5 minutes when they have this supposed flashback. Mikey and Mame are talking about putting their heads together and coming up for some brainstorming ideas because Tyra wants them to be entrepreneurs. And they do this flashback to last week's panel that they act like happened in the episode last week, but clearly did not.
I went back and watched.
Yeah, and their little one-on-one conversation about putting their heads together felt so scripted. It felt really forced. It didn't feel like they naturally were like, we gotta brainstorm ideas. And I think that if you have any sense at all, which I believe Mame does, if you're trying to brainstorm entrepreneurial ideas, the last person you're trying to collaborate with would be Mikey.
Right? I mean, like, and then the idea he came up with, because the idea is that they're fierce-apreneurs.
Right, because you can't ever just...
And now there's fierce-apreneurs.
Oh, I don't even think they put that much thought into it. I just bought into it immediately because Tyra always needs to make up a word whenever she teaches them something.
Is also a fierce-apreneur, I'm guessing. So they have to
create... Are they, though?
They have to come up with a product and a brand, basically, that's, like, authentic to who they are. So the brand has to be just like them.
And they have poster board and glitter.
Oh, yeah, there was, like, markers. I swear to God, I said it. It looks like a kindergarten craft table.
It looks like...
And it's like, here are your materials and also your poop phones.
Yeah, it looked like... what you gather together when you're trying to make like the science fair in elementary school happen.
Right? It was just like...
The fact that they want them to have like a high-level pitch presentation...
With those materials.
It made, like, none of this made sense from the jump. Let alone their travel back in time to tell us that something was... They tried to fucking inception us. They tried to incept us by being like, this happened, you were dreaming.
This did not happen.
Because I literally turned to you, I was like, did they do that last week? Or did I black out? You're like, no, I went back and watched with they didn't do this. She didn't go into this entrepreneurial spiel. It's nothing new. Tyra has been touting about since the show has been going on that you need to be more than just a model. You're a brand, et cetera, et cetera. You need to figure out how to keep this modeling thing going even past your quote-unquote prime, and how most high-level and high-paid models will figure out a way to continue their career if they're not walking down the runway or booking as much print.
It's just so funny that she would say this now. Like, I still remember it was like the second cycle of this show when she told the Indian girl. It was like one of those like beginning semifinal episodes. They were like, "Oh, what do you want to do?" She's like, "Oh, well, you know, I also want to go into business and like I want to, you know, get experience that would help me like create a really successful business too for when I'm done with modeling." And then they're like, "Oh, so you were really in it for the business side of it, and you're not here for the modeling, so you are eliminated." Was basically what happened to her. And I'm like, now suddenly it's like, oh, you have to think about what happens after. Like, you need to do this. This is part of.
I feel
being
like
a
now
model.
that Tyra is
now that she's older
in her later part of her career, and she's doing more things like her Fab Life talk show.
Oh my god, I forgot that was happening.
I know.
Too.
I keep.
We always knew she'd come back.
Oh yeah. But now that
like
she's...
a dolphin, she'll come back.
Which she's terrified of, by the way.
And we are terrified of her. In a fabulous way.
Yes. But now that she's doing less, I mean, she basically does no modeling other than the pictures that she takes for the show.
And for the house.
And for the house. That's what I meant by the show is like a whole. But she's got her Tyra Beauty. She's got her TV shows. Well, now show singular. Unless they end up getting America's Next Top Model onto a streaming service.
Which is another, they're shopping it around. And
so there's that little...
I mean, there's the possibility.
I don't know why they would pass on that. I feel like look at how little production value they've put into it for this season, and it's still chugging along.
And I'm like, Hulu
just
Plus,
give
like, they
Tyra...
could use some, like, evergreen material as original programming, couldn't they? Because people would always go back to it.
Yeah.
And they'd forget that it ever even moved to Hulu to begin with. It would just be, like, part of the
just
series.
Like the UPN, WB, CW hybrid. It's like sometimes I forget.
That sometimes is aired on the same network channel as the Fox network or something in our market. I'm like, I don't understand which network this is supposed to be right now.
And I mean, it has a lot of successful reruns. Speaking of different networks, on Oxygen and VH1, I've caught like reruns of random stuff on there. But I mean, if Cycle 1 could be just like a case study of how this show doesn't need a ton of money, all they had was a black curtain when they eliminated someone. It just looked like they ran down to Smart and Final and picked up a table.
No, I think it was blue curtains. It was blue curtains with a black curtain over the picnic table they had as a judging panel. That, you know, it was like, and it was like even filmed, it was like the same kind of like RuPaul's Drag Race Season 1 filter. It's like kind of hovers over the imagery in that show. Just a little bit, just a little tiny bit. But that was when it was, you know, still like, it was like brand new, and it was like, there were still things in it that was like, oh my god, like even on that meager budget, like, you know what, we have this much money, we're still going to spend the money on going to Paris. And now they're like, fuck it, we have no money, we're going to go shoot in the dark so we don't have to rent a full light kit. We're going to have them sleep in an abandoned cabin and tell them a stupid ghost, like, campfire story about, like, victims who'd been dismembered in the forest. And we're not bringing lights, so pose out here where we think they're still hiding. I'm like, okay, why?
I guarantee you they were squatting in that cabin.
They had to have been. Like, they didn't pay.
They had no clearance for permits because they were all shooting on like their little handheld cameras in there. I don't think they actually had a film crew in there either.
I think for some shots they definitely did. But oh my god. So anyway, so the challenge itself, after we learned that there was apparently a whole like group meeting of the top model elite about being fiercepreneurs, they have to come up with their presentation. It's like this like ANTM Shark Tank.
Yeah.
It's basically like Tyra Shark Tank, which I feel like should be like, it's every day in the life of Tyra is like a Shark Tank episode, I guess, in some way.
Live every day like it's Shark Week.
She's always pitching something to someone somewhere over some platform in some way. So it was like they do this like fake Shark Tank thing, and they all have to. Yeah, that's what, like, you know, so that using their glitter glue and their markers and their poster boards.
And their poop phone.
And some contact. Oh, yeah, they have to use the panoramic and double exposure features on
the double exposure feature, the way that it looks in the final product, it looks like they were drunk when they took the photo. It just looks really woozy if a photo can look woozy.
Right, and only one person really kind of used it well, and that was...
Lacey,
even though I didn't really like the idea of her book, although I feel like 1 million people would buy that shitty book.
Really?
a lot of stupid people read stupid shit because you can be done with it in like an hour and it's like I read something and now like maybe I've just whet my appetite for something actually good. I don't know, but I see people buying and reading crap all the time, so I mean, why wouldn't they buy this crap if it was by a sweet kid that they have nothing against that was on TV? There's probably got to be somebody who would, I don't know, I feel like it would sell. I feel like it could sell because she can market it herself very well. People are like, oh, she's so cute and sweet. Like, why wouldn't you want to support someone who's just a nice girl?
Because you're missing half of your brain.
A little bit. But, you know,
I have nothing against her or that she's not nice or whatever. I just feel like a memoir from an 18-year-old Christian's point of view falls into the category of I don't fucking want to read that.
Well, obviously, I would never read it.
Yeah, no, I know, but nor would I purchase it just to be supportive.
Yeah, but I'd expect to get a copy in the mail.
For free?
Yeah, you know, to publicize it, and then I would use this podcast as the product of my publication.
We will not be reviewing her.
We're not reviewing it. We're just talking about it. We gave them some
We're already giving them free press for this book that she may or may not have already distributed. So that even drives home Kelly's point of needing a huge budget for PR as completely ridiculous. You're going to prove that
by giving them like $5 worth of scraps to work with. And to their credit, a lot of everyone else's posters actually looked really good. I was like, oh, where did you get that nice logo that you drew, Devin? Why does Mame's poster have actually like really cool like body art really on it? Yeah. I was like, and then Nyle like created it like the idea for an app and somehow had videos and things prepared. Like, that was a pretty seamless multimedia presentation for them to create with nothing but a poop phone.
They didn't even have PowerPoint. This was all with their own two little hands and a shitty phone.
It's like actually something I could see people actually using. Like
that's why Mikey taking the prize for talks was so insulting. It's just like it's like rubbing our fucking face in it. They just think that we're stupid, right? Like this
they have to think that we're stupid to think that was like, oh, and I love
that one had the most legs. I was like, oh my god,
are you freaking kidding me? Like, are you?
Oh, insane? Are you guys just giving out $2,500 because we could fucking use $2,500 for this podcast, which definitely has legs
to run on.
Oh my god, it was just insulting. It was like, so upsetting.
The T is wearing a tank top and the S is like a sock. And I'm like, okay, that's clearly like a producer's little clever idea. I don't even believe he came up with that. Like, everything obviously was something someone, he's like, oh, I was reading the Zappos CEO's book, you know, and I was really inspired by this part where you did this. And then like Kelly's like, oh yeah, what I like about your brand is that it's authentic. And I'm like, because it's sloppy and hideous and grungy.
Well, even Tyra was like, you live your brand, that's why we picked you. I'm like, what? Gross.
But that's not a brand that anybody wants to aspire to. Who wants to? I swear to God, like those shirts
and socks.
And he was like spraying them with like little cans of spray paint, like just like randomly.
But
you
saw the final product. It looked terrible. It looked like he made it in 5 minutes. It looked like I wouldn't spend $20 or under or whatever his price points were for that at all. And his socks are probably like those Target 10-pack of socks that he like spray painted and expects us to just like
They weren't even that. They were just somebody else's socks.
It was really insulting that this was the presentation that they thought
and like
was
the board itself was like the one that most looked like it was made by a child.
Oh my, not even a child. It's made by somebody who's like no. You're giving children not enough credit. I feel like children would have more of an aesthetic than him because he just like tacked it on, just like he seems like a serial killer from a Criminal Minds episode who's just like stabbing in photos of who he wants to kill next up against his wall. Except instead of photos of people that he's going to murder later, it's socks and like pieces of cloth. It looks so ramshackled, barely put together. And I can't believe everybody like knocked Devin down for... So what? All right, he fucked up his perfume scent. But at least his presentation was... It was a little awkward, but it looked good.
And he was like, oh, there's the amber. Like, that's not amber. And I'm like, oh, that's not close enough to amber. Granted, it was gold. Except Mikey's panoramic use of the Oppo phone, where literally clothes were just strewn on everything. Like, the pool noodle
But you honestly
floating.
Couldn't even see the clothes or the socks. And
it was just a big
that's a
mess.
fantastic photo.
This is an example of good photography, is what she said. I'm like, well, of course, as the woman who's boning what's his name to be the photographer for your show,
who cannot take a photo to save his life. I can't think of one photo he's taken that's actually good.
I mean, there's moments. Everybody who knows how to Well, he doesn't even always know how to focus the camera.
No.
But I was going to say, even people, like, you focus the camera and you have, like, other people doing the lighting and the person just happens to stand.
And you've got Photoshop, like...
You can make it amazing. You can
barely fuck this up. And yet he does. Maybe that's why the photos look so flat this cycle. They have no range of anything. It's like he's barely able to keep it in focus, and that's all you can ask of him.
Right? So, like... Oh, God, it was
so,
awful.
Anyway, back to Mikey's Tox brand.
So, Tonks, because it's like,
he keeps saying Tox.
Tox. Tanks and socks. He just sells tank tops and socks. And the tank tops will be $20, and the socks will be $8 to $10 because he wants to make it affordable. For somebody who grew up
poor, that's not very affordable at all.
It's not. I'm like, $20 for one tank top? I would expect to get like 4 Hanes tank tops for $20.
I'm looking at your jank-ass tank tops. They are not worth $20 a pop.
They look like you just didn't wash the jizz out of them the last time you masturbated with an old lady, because he even says during the panel, because the other 2 guests are... Who the hell were they? But they were
the CEO of Dry Bar, and then some French woman who is a venture capitalist funder. Who knows?
I mean, they weren't really got into that old, but like...
They weren't, but they never got into what the French woman did. And all Tyra was like, all she gave is like the hint of what she does for a living is, if you want to be a sommelier, if you want to make computers, you talk to her. I'm like, those are 2 highly different things that I don't know if that same person would think to come to you.
She's the link between them that made the great sommeliers
of
the world.
I feel like I'm losing my mind, like, recounting this out loud.
It makes no sense at all.
Thank you.
It makes no sense. And so they, like, okay, so Mikey's jank-ass presentation, like, seriously, like, when he's like, oh, I sort of have it, like, the old ladies seem to like me, I'll use that to my advantage.
They're my field of specialty.
Yeah, I was like,
you're
oh my God. It was just so incredibly nasty. But I got this, like, I instantly had this very sad, like, feeling for him. I genuinely pitied him because I could just see him hanging out in cougar bars and, like, looking for some rich older woman to, like,
they have a ton of them in Florida, so I'm actually not surprised. If it comes to light later that Mikey was a paid escort, I will not be shocked.
Ugh, but who would
Apparently
pay him?
his biggest accomplishment.
Some other swamp woman who found a suitcase full of money?
I feel like there might be, like, foreigners that would be into it.
This judging panel is like...
They were all like, you're so, like, we just love you.
themselves for this guy.
The thing that I have to argue, though...
plotted.
But also that... One of the Kardashians tried to have a sock line. That did not take off. The reason that you see Mikey's brand taking off because he lives his brand makes even less sense than that. So if a Kardashian can't make a shitty thing successful, I highly doubt this weirdo with artist friends, quote unquote, that'll help him do the design.
Friends.
That's what he said in his pitch, which is like the least professional thing you could possibly say. It's like, I got some buddies back home that can like help with the design, and they'll like do it at a discount.
This is really authentic. Like, if by authentic you mean like shitty. Like, yes, it's authentic because
it's authentically shitty for sure, but it's not authentic to... I mean, I guess it's authentic to him because it looks like he would wear that, because he is wearing it.
Yeah, I'm like, oh my God, I still can't get over the fact that some of them look like they literally had... Oh my God.
I can't believe they were stabbed up on a poster board, just like some sort of weird conquest.
In so many ways,
it was very
like,
strange.
So bad. And I'm like, are you really, like, expecting us to, like, go along with this plot line of yours? With us believing that you really thought, like, Mikey, I'm really proud of you. I'm so proud of you because you read the book. You just nailed it.
You're just doing so good.
And you just quoted it in the show. And I'm like, dude, every single thing that he just said. I think
that was such a major kiss-ass moment that you wanted to throw up a little bit.
It was written for him. I guarantee it was written for him. I do not for a second believe
it still made me feel uncomfortable either way.
It was so bad. And it just, like I said, it seems like the rejects from TMZ are now the writing staff of Top Model. Because so much of the scenarios in this episode were, like, crafted to make you cringe in a really grody, like, way.
Yeah, so the flip side of, like, someone that did poorly and the way that they edited it was, like, it gave me anxiety watching Mame give her presentation, because it felt like they used the, like, maybe she did trip up, but it felt so excessive and so heavily edited together that I felt like they just looped a footage of her stuttering in the beginning until she found her way, and then just looped that over and over again to, like, drive home that she's going to get a low score and she's in danger of going home.
Yeah, I think this whole episode was like an example or an experiment in decoding, because we had to sort of decode through, like, this
haze
weird thing that they constructed over, like, what actually happened. So you're constantly looking for, like, where did that cut happen? Like, right. Let's see, like, because there's multiple times. And then that felt
more like a loop than a cut.
And even their confessional interviews were clearly taken from, like, at least 2 or 3 different, like, time periods with their different outfits and different hairstyles and different backgrounds. And I was like...
Well, the background's a green screen, so I can forgive that, but definitely different hair. Like, we keep seeing Mame with, like, that super straight, sleek hair. I'm like, when the fuck was this?
Right? I'm like, this clearly looks like it was done after the show wrapped.
Mm-hmm.
Like, after we already have, like, the whole scenario, and it's like...
And we need you to come in and fill in a little bit.
I feel like that's what happens every time, like, after the show's done, because they always have a comment while they're still in that look at the very end of the show.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, oh, you know, I would have liked to have won, but at least I got to do this for my mom, or whatever the hell, like, sad story that the producers are trying to get them to tell. But, like, they've obviously recorded that before they edited the whole show together, so you know that they talked to them after the results of the show came out, and they're all like, you know, I'm like, you have to figure out which one of these outfits is the one that, like, is them recalling the series and their final, like, series of interviews that are edited into the show. Because a lot of the things that I think we hear during the season are clearly things that they said after the show is already completed, and it's just them helping them, like, oh, yeah, and that one, I remember that. I was totally, like, into Mikey right then because I needed another body to stay warm in this stupid cabin. Like, okay, the fact that they kept talking that they were camping. So for the challenge, they had to do a photograph. It makes me feel like
nobody knows what camping looks like.
I'm like, first of all, just because you lit a campfire doesn't mean that you're camping, because you just walked into a house and slept on the floor. Like, that is not camping.
Yeah, you walked into a cabin.
And you didn't even start your fire.
It's a cabin, so you can't start a fire inside, but there's no furniture and there's no heat. So, again, you guys are squatting, you're not camping, you're not even in a cabin that's been rented for you.
And if they've decided to go this far away from what camping actually is, then why the fuck couldn't they at least get them something to sleep on?
Or a space heater.
Something. Why couldn't you let them bring a log from the fire outside into the fireplace in the house? Because we know it had one somewhere. There's a fireplace in that house somewhere.
Oh, or that. But let's just quickly circle back to the other ideas quickly. Definitely why we were so upset that Nyle didn't win, or at least get more praise because he rightfully deserved it, was that he came up with the Sign That app where people could learn different words in sign language quickly through this little app.
And there would be a video showing, demonstrating how to sign it.
It's like Duolingo for ASL.
And I thought it was a really brilliant idea.
And he came in with like a completely sound business plan. Like, he knew how much he was going to charge for it. He knew, like, kind of how much it would cost. But I think that apps are so easy to build. He has a built-in following already. I mean, even before he was on Top Model, I'm sure he had some sort of followers because he was an actor on a couple of TV shows. I feel like he must have had some sort of fan base to begin with. There's your built-in marketing. You don't really need to do much else. Plus, I feel like he's already kind of, not a spokesperson for the ASL community, but I feel like he's the most recognizable face that you know, other than the kids in Spring Awakening on Broadway that are doing. So, other than that, I don't see where Kelly's comment of, oh, $100,000 is barely going to get you 6 months of PR. With who? You and your defunct PR house?
And why the hell would... No wonder you're out of business if that's what you were charging for a staff of people who just freaked out over spreadsheets and answering phones for a living.
If you gave him $100,000 and he put all of that towards PR, I would be worried because that's a stupid, horrible business plan. But he doesn't seem like that's what he was even trying to do. She just put words in his mouth.
Well, she was trying to find something to criticize because they really didn't have anything to criticize. It's like he came up with...
He came up with a good idea. Really, he had a good presentation.
And I'm like, he had videos synced up to go off at exactly the right moment in his presentation. Like, it was, like I said, it was pretty impressive, like, little multimedia thing he put together so that it worked in concert with him having to have somebody speaking what he's signing.
And even like just on the show alone, how many times have people asked him how to sign something?
So it's like, hey,
he proves his own point. Clearly, people would want to download this app.
Like, everyone in the house could use that on their poop phone to be like, oh, I can sign with you.
Oh, what? Does it let you download apps?
Well, I feel like it's like their only like way to mimic living in the outside world for them in the house. It's like, well, at least you guys can still like text each other. You can just only text people in the same house with you. So maybe it's sort of like they're like we said, they're like walkie-talkies.
Yeah, pretty much.
But no.
We don't know what sort of Google Play, iTunes Store situation the Oppo phone's working with, so.
Or even where you buy it. I've never seen one in a store.
Neither have I, but poop phones are the future. We're just not hip enough.
The future on Top Model. Clearly she's got a desperate
Well, actually, the future
sponsor.
is nearly over for Top Model.
Well, if they get a streaming platform, at least they have another sponsor who's, like, got no one else. Have you seen them sponsor anything else?
No, but you know how like the Line app last season actually had some commercials during the show? Oppo doesn't even have that.
That's true, they don't.
I'm still waiting for someone to tell me more about this fucking phone. How do I know that I don't even want it if I don't know what it does?
It's like she thinks she's Steve Jobs now. It's like a product launch.
Do you think it's Oprah's phone or Oprah's phone? You think it's Tyra's phone?
Oh my god, she probably just named it that so Oprah couldn't develop her own phone and name it that.
We're on to you, Tai. We see right through you. Just like we see right through this bullshit win for Mikey.
Oh my god. So yeah, Nyle really had the best idea that really did have legs and like that.
Yeah, that genuinely you could see in the marketplace launching tomorrow.
Right.
And people would download it.
People would download it. Fine, I'll spend $2 on that. That would be fun. Even people who don't have any deaf friends. You
can totally pitch it in 30 seconds or less to somebody. It's fairly easy to make an app these days. Not to sound like an old person, but these days you can make an app. And I mean, obviously it'll require some work, but it's a little bit easier and a little bit more cost efficient than say a fucking clothing line. No matter how stupid and basic it is, it's still going to cost more money to do that than to build an app. And let's see, who else?
I'm with you.
Yeah, no, I know. That's why I was like, yep, no, we're in agreement. Everybody else is the idiot, not us. At least everybody else on this show that was in charge of giving away this money.
Well, you know, all the model testants, of course, wouldn't give two craps about the Oppo phone as soon as they get their, like, Galaxies and iPhones back.
But let's see, Devin he had a perfume line, which was like a strange angle to come at. Because I do
called Emotions.
Yeah, and I would agree with Tyra's critique that name had nothing to do with whatever he was talking about.
But I love that subtitle of it was Crazy, Sexy, Cool. I'm like, so wait, now you're stealing from TLC? Like, I don't understand what that had to do with the emotions. None of those
Maybe that's how he sees himself.
Crazy, sexy, cool are not emotions.
Maybe he thinks those are emotions.
Like, oh my god.
But those are the emotions that you will feel when you put on this perfume?
I don't know, but like I did kind of chuckle when Kelly was like, "This fragrance is making me crazy," and I'm just like, "Oh my god," because it's kind of like what was going on because he was trying to overcome her like bitchiness.
Yeah,
I'm like, you were being awfully critical of everyone else, and then you just turned off that critical eye. Maybe they've all had a taste of like some really giant dick or something that none of us can imagine him even having.
I can't. And even if he did, his personality is so disgusting that I couldn't.
It's so grody. Like, seriously, at every point, like, he's even saying, like, oh, yeah, we're going to go camping. It's going to get cold, so Mame's going to need someone to cuddle up with.
Or even when he's like...
Anymore. He's, like, plotting.
Well, he's like, oh, I can tell when a woman wants me, and Mame wants me. I'm like, you sound like a rapist. That's like textbook rape talk.
Right? Like, you're just not listening to the woman who's like, I really don't want this.
Yeah. Bless you.
Bless you. See, I'm allergic to Mikey.
But yeah, he's disgusting, and they must have all had some sort of... Maybe Mikey is the Chad Radwell, but like more disgusting and more swampy. But he's everybody's had a turn.
So gross. I just can't.
And I could totally imagine him jacking off to dead bodies. It's like so easy for me to picture right now. So anywho, back to perfumes because that not as bleak.
Thing.
I think that was like a really hard thing, especially you can't half-ass it.
No.
You couldn't half-ass it the way that Mikey half-assed his shit. It like you were presenting a concrete thing, and you could just if you mess it up, it's not gonna smell great, and it's gonna linger in people's noses, and it's gonna make them upset. Like,
of course, the way they smelled them, they just stuck the bottle right up to their nostril. I'm like, okay, you don't inhale the liquid. They're
trying to huff that.
You're supposed to like actually take the little. Maybe he didn't provide those, but the little like scent tabs that you dip in it, wave it around, and then you smell the tab.
Yeah, like at Sephora.
Like you don't just stick the whole bottle up your nostril like they were doing. So that's why I was like, where do you do this? They must have given them no other option. Like, okay, well, I guess I gotta just take a whiff of this like it's poppers. He probably would have done a lot better if he had put amyl nitrate in each of those bottles, and none of them would have known. They suddenly would have been like all laughing. They just
suddenly felt really good and gave him a high score.
Yeah, he might have won if he had manipulated them and committed a horrible crime. But it seems like the kind of crime that Mikey would commit more than they would. Because I was getting date rape vibe off him this entire episode. I was like, I almost felt bad. I'm like, am I just being really mean to him? I'm like, no. He's literally, every time they talk to him, he's like, planning for like that moment when he's gonna be like some other woman's gonna be forced into his like immediate space and what he's gonna do once she's there. I'm like, you are literally planning this out and you're telling us every step of it.
A lot.
I mean,
like
I thought
a lot.
Leatherface died, but apparently he's alive in Mikey, because I just get this like total like well, actually that that was Texas Chainsaw, but I'm getting more Deliverance vibe from him. Still do because of the the Florida, and
because he looks like he crawled out of a swamp.
Oh God, he just.
I mean, he must have only talked about this because this is the only footage that we ever see of him is him talking about how he's gonna bang some chick. It doesn't matter who. Clearly he doesn't.
I think my mate likes me. Oh, look, I have, because she talked about his skinny legs. And like, oh, well, I'll show them to you. And she's like, I don't even know how to respond to that.
He doesn't know what a hint is.
Or even ignoring
a blinking
them.
sign. Yeah, he...
Well, if he's used to hitting on older women... And then he keeps alluding,
but he keeps alluding to things happening between him and Mame. Like that one piece of confessional footage where he's like, Mame, if you're sitting next to Justin right now, run. And
I was like, when I first saw it...
Even though she just got through saying... Nothing happened. We slept next to each other because it was freezing in there. But I really care for Justin, and I don't want to have anything to do with Mikey in that way.
He's not the one.
Yeah, but he's still
not the one.
He just doesn't like. I don't think he's ever heard no or like understands.
I think he's heard it. He just completely disregards it, and he's just persistent until they say yes. I guess I hope.
No means yes. Yes means anal. He's one of those frat guys.
Just so it was very unsettling. Like that. The whole episode, he was very unsettling, and the fact that they kept being like, "Oh, you're being so authentic, I love it," and I'm like, "Authentic rapist is what you're looking for?" I don't understand what it is that you expect us to believe here, and then you go and then craft this side of his personality for us on the show. I'm like, if that's not what he's really like, I'd be really pissed if I was him.
Maybe they're just setting him up so that when he finally gets eliminated, we'll feel even better that he's gone.
I hope so.
I'm waiting for him to go home, but clearly it's not going to be this week because their photo shoot in the dark, at least for him, went off without a hitch. He had no problems. He was just hitting all his marks, and Usai said that they got it in like 5 frames, and then when he went to judging panel, they were like, we were looking through your film, and everything was amazing. You're so amazing. You've really unleashed the Mikey. You're amazing.
And like when we were seeing the photo shoot, it did not look that good. He
did a pose where he like threw something up, and the way that he threw it up and threw back his head, he looked like a little seal. It looked super funny. And his Swiss Miss braids are gross. I am tired of this look. I don't know why they keep doing this to him.
Like he's $1 Million Baby or something.
Without any of the talent.
No, right? Like, who knows if he gets drunk enough, like, what kind of fight he could win.
Oh, I just meant talented in the regards of, like, a modeling show. I would believe he could win a bar brawl for sure. I'm sure he's probably stabbed some people.
I hope not.
He has the face.
He does, kind of. It's like a male Eileen Wuornos.
Yeah. Yeah. He's pretty much nailed that.
There's just something so eerie about him. I thought maybe he was cast just because the show was like going to be on during Halloween season. I don't know.
They had Romeo the Witch and now Mikey the Rapist.
Oh my gosh, that's right. That's so true. Well, at least Romeo wasn't a rapist. Wasn't giving off that vibe. It was like, if that's not...
No, but he did have a loose cannon persona.
He did.
And so when he headbutted Adam, I was relieved that was all that he did. And that he did it to Adam, of all people, because he was just so buff. I'm like, he's a frat bro. He can definitely take a hit to the face.
And he could snap you.
Yeah, and I feel like this isn't going to affect him because he's drunk anyway. So he's the type of dude that wakes up, he's like, whoa, what happened to my forehead? Oh, yeah. I feel like he's the one that would take it the least serious.
On the train ride home to Modesto or wherever he was from.
Oh, is that where he was from?
I don't remember.
Oh.
I don't remember at all. Somewhere near Bakersfield, maybe? I'm not sure.
I'm not going to argue.
But nonetheless, yes, Mikey was giving off really bad vibes, but they were just loving everything he was putting down. And it's like, ironically, this was like Devin's best photo the whole series.
It really was.
He turned out, and it was like the best for what I think they were going for in this photo shoot of everyone. But because they'd already scripted the Devin's going home, and Mikey's going to be on top no matter what he does, like, which was really tough to, like, believe this episode. Like, you did not plan well for this at all. You should have just decided to leave the, like, Niles on his way down while Mikey's on his way up storyline out of this whole cycle.
Definitely should have left that on the cutting room floor because it's not fucking working.
Like, I don't buy it at all. And it's like, and they had to even go to the lengths of like, okay, you already can't hear, so we have to, find a different way to communicate with you for photo shoots. Let's remove the only other way that we have of communicating with you during a photo shoot for this photo shoot to help along this plot that we're developing.
Yeah, where was his translator in all of that, too?
Well, it didn't matter. He couldn't see his translator.
I know, but I feel like translator should have been working with Yusai a little bit better to actually communicate to Nyle when the flash was about to go off. Because I feel like Yusai doesn't have that sort of internal rhythm that was obviously matching with Nyle at all. The flashlight was just a stupid idea.
Like flashing a flashlight in his eyes.
And it took him so long to figure out that was bad and not working. It took like 10 photos for him to be like, you're not hitting your mark. Like,
and
no,
like that,
of course not.
How can they not hit their mark when they're standing on an apple box, basically?
It was
There's only so many places that they can go. Where's the mark and not mark in this there's only room for you to have hit your mark already because you're standing on it the entire time.
Well, even Devin, it was actually unintentionally comical when they had the night vision camera on Devin and he had this super weird look on his face trying to like see where Eric and Yusai was. Like, Eric, where are you?
Where's the photographer? I'm trying to be professional here.
He looked like a scared cat, just like,
And he's like, what are you saying? Like, I'm trying to find the photographer. And he's like, listen to my voice and look towards me. I'm like, oh my god, you people are so... I love how Tyra was like, we've never done this before. And I'm like...
But we buried people alive before, though.
Yes, on the day that they realized that a friend of theirs had died.
Yeah, but during this photo... that was really sad, but... This photo shoot reminded me of that one just because it was in the dark and you couldn't see what was happening and it was also playing on some fears. I'm pretty sure they wanted someone to freak out in the dark, but it just didn't happen. But it felt like they were trying to ramp that up, especially with Yusai's whack-ass ghost story. Story.
Did we mention? I think we mentioned this already. The dismembered bodies and they never caught the killer and all this bullshit. And it was in these woods. And this is rumored to have happened.
Yeah, but the most interesting part about that whole conversation was Yusai talking about how he used to love going camping and being in nature because he was a biology major. It's like, what? Huh? Can we dive into that a little deeper, please? I'm very curious to see.
There's a really good story there worth exploring.
Yeah, how did you end up here? Please tell us.
I'm like, what exactly is it that you do? You're a photo shoot director?
How did you craft that job for yourself? He does take photos because he took those photos for the
he works
Living
for guests,
Doll.
Doesn't he? Is that
did or does? I don't know. He did bring in the guest sponsorship initially, but now that they're not the clothing sponsor, I don't know. But he did do the Living Doll photo shoot, which I thought those were some of the better pictures that they'd taken. I think that Yusai really can take a picture better than fucking Eric, but one of you is not banging Tyra.
Yeah, we know which one it is. We know Yusai is not banging a woman.
We know that much. Oh gosh, but while we're on the topic of Yusai, I loved his big red peacoat, but the peacoat with his little beanie halfway off his head, he looked like a garden gnome.
That's unfortunate.
I know, and I know it was completely unintentional, but I just couldn't help but giggle every time there was like a side profile shot of him talking to the models, just being like, you look like a little gnome. You go on my lawn now.
Yes, he was trying to be irritating like a gnome too. Because he was, like, all over Lacey for, like, bullshit.
Yeah, just get the stick out of your butt and let's pretend like there are no sticks and butts here, or whatever he said.
Like, I don't understand the point. And then, even, like, I don't know, it felt like it was just so obviously forced.
Of, like, we can't praise Nyle and Lacey every week, so let's make them feel bad about themselves.
But, like, even in the recounting of that story, it's, like, within the context of the show, like, Mame is, like, her one-on-one. It's like, oh, it's actually really refreshing to hear them say something negative about Lacey. And then Lacey's like, I'm just so over this, like, oh, I can't even. And I'm like, it was just so, like, you clearly have no... like, negative feeling about this. You do not care about this at all.
Yeah, I thought that... I couldn't tell what she was going for in that moment. I was like, is she trying to be funny?
She's trying to be like, oh my god.
Or is she trying to pretend to be mad?
That's what I thought, but it's like she couldn't... Either she was trying to pretend like she was upset, but she's actually, like, over it. Like, it doesn't bother her now. Like, it was
a very confusing cutaway that was unneeded.
And I'm like... Is this because you know what happens after this and you're kind of okay with what happens after? Like, you probably still get something decent. Maybe you still get a check for coming in the top 3. I don't know.
It was just a very strange delivery on that very
it
written for her line.
It stood out like it really.
There were
like a sore
so
thumb.
many lines, that we just kept saying that does not sound like something they would ever say, they would ever come up with on their own. It even feels scripted coming out of their mouth. All of it, just especially this like engineered like Lacey and Nyle are doing so terrible. Oh my God, will they be around? Like,
and then they're like going into sleep in the freezing cold cabin, and of course like Lacey and Nyle are gonna cuddle. And I'm like, well, she got, like, the best deal of everybody in that house because she got the one who's, like, the meatiest, who probably could provide the most warmth, and is probably the nicest to sit and lay with because I get the feeling he would respect her, which apparently he does because she still wants to cuddle with him. And she's still a little virginal Christian girl.
She did say in her book pitch that she is going to remain a virgin until she becomes married.
Yeah, so you know that, like, he's at least being respectful of her. And helping to keep her warm, and his sexiness is not bad to have pressed against you, I'm sure. But then, of course, that leaves Mame with the choice of Mikey or Devin.
I would just be joining Devin and drinking that bottle of wine that he brought.
Well, I don't think that anyone knew he brought it. It was kind of like that cheese sandwich in that episode of I Love Lucy where they're all like locked in the cabin in the Alps during an avalanche, and everyone smells her sandwich because she's the only one who saved one for later. And I'm like, I'm surprised nobody else has like heard that like pop like that. I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah, as soon as I heard that, I'd be sitting up and be like, get away from me. I'm going to go drink wine instead.
Because he totally, like, prepared to, like, be sitting by himself in a corner. Cause it was
right? He seemed way too comfortable doing that.
He's like, I know I'm not going to be paired up with anybody here, so I'll just bring myself a bottle of wine.
But it really did... I think it was last week or maybe the week before you had mentioned, like, how Devin has... As soon as the sun's down, Devin has a drink in his hand. And it wasn't until that cabin shot where he looked like this is what he's been doing every fucking day since he's been on this show, that it really kind of all clicked for me. I was like, oh, fuck. Maybe the show has turned him into, like, a bit of a wino.
I think some separation from this show would do him some good.
Yeah.
They didn't quite go as deep into that as they did with, like, Adam's drinking problem.
Yeah, because maybe, I mean, he didn't come to the shoot drunk/hungover, so maybe that's why.
Or the judging. Well,
yeah.
Actually, no.
What?
We don't really know. They just didn't make a point of.
Oh, right. Yeah, it didn't become a storyline, so we don't really know, but we can assume as much that he didn't show up to a ton of things drunk, at least.
So, yeah, right. So I thought that he actually did do a good job in this photo shoot. Probably the best of all the pictures, really, that week.
I really would have given that best photo.
It was just perfect. He's like, he dialed it down.
His face looked really relaxed. I couldn't believe that he didn't arch up his stupid eyebrow. Like, it was a good photo of him.
And, like,
where he really finally took in everything.
The fabric was fanned out behind him, the lighting at that specific moment of that picture. Like, everything actually worked. And I was like,
and I also really liked his outfit. I thought that you could really see the individual pieces more. Whereas Mikey, I couldn't really quite
there was so
make
much
out what he
extra
was
fabric
wearing.
that he was just throwing around him. And all he ended up doing, he wasn't even that great. He had kind of a mugshot seriousness in his
He lost his neck, by the way.
Oh, that's not important anymore. It's not about neck now. It's about
about passion.
Passion and tension. Tension is back. Passion is back. Neck is out.
Oh, okay. Shit.
Wasn't that last cycle where they did all the different weird poses?
No, that was this cycle. They did the giraffe. They did the giraffe. They did the horse. They did the owl.
They did the ostrich with its head in the sand. Like,
I was like, oh, you're making a joke.
Yes, no, there was no ostrich with its
I would have bought
sand.
that, though. You know, we know Tyra and her craziness knows no bounds. She would totally try to get them to stick their heads in something if she thought that she could pull it off. Clearly, she thinks she can pull off Tyra Beauty.
We're inspired by Saw this week for our photographs. It's Saw, everybody.
Oh, man.
Because you have to know how to look like you're getting murdered if you want to get work in the fashion industry.
So, yeah, Mikey's photo compared to Devin's, I don't understand how Mikey won Best Photo, but it felt like they wanted to give it to Mikey last week, but couldn't because Mame's score, she got a perfect 10. So they just had to because they liked Mame's photo so much. So she ended up in the top. But
they made a big point this week about how, like, the shot that they chose was actually just one of the test shots. How she was even serving even when they're just testing the light.
So what was funny about that was that what they what you side dinged Lacey for being too statuesque, too stiff. Mame's photo was exactly that, and I didn't really like her photo at all. I thought it was probably one of the weaker ones.
I would have liked to have seen one of the other shots from that film because it looked like she was doing.
She was actually doing a lot of different poses and movement, and I just assumed that Eric's camera was out of focus for 99% of it. If they picked a fucking test photo.
Use any of them.
My boyfriend fucked up, but we're just gonna couch it in this thing where, like, I say that it's because you're so fierce.
I'm sorry, Tyra fucked me really hard in the ass last night. It's just, like, really difficult to stay focused today.
I feel like it's way more benign than that. He just kind of probably fucked up importing photos onto his computer or something. Deleted them all.
Well, you know, I just feel like he's clearly the bottom in their relationship.
Oh, that was never a question.
I think Tyra just rode him extra hard last night, and he was just a little sore. That's why he's like, we have to do this in the dark. I don't want you to see me cry.
I wonder how many times a day he cries.
I don't know. I feel like he's getting pretty nice paycheck.
What's your over-under, though? Oh, please. Yeah, for phoning it in barely.
Barely.
Oh, God. Like he should be a fucking NFL coach the way that he phones shit in right now.
With camo headphones?
That would actually give him some...
Day.
Yeah, that would give him some degree of authority, but he can't even have that. No. Tyra won't let him.
No, she won't. She's in control here.
But Mame's photo was meh.
Meh. But I like what she was. I loved her little line. She was like, you know, when they tell you they're testing the light, you're like, really? Are you really testing that light? Is that the light you're testing? Really?
It was just an excuse for Tyra to, like,
to show you how to do it.
Yeah. To give face, to smize, even though her haircut is terrible, and that jumpsuit, the shoulder pads were so pointy that they were going to stab somebody. It was a little extreme.
They probably did, or they at least somewhere in the brain, because Miss J, like, just started doing a flamenco when they...
That was not a flamenco. Miss J was stamping her feet around.
And waving her hands.
I mean, artfully so, but the feet was just loud stomps. It was like a fucking giraffe or elephant was in the room.
That was really good. I was almost convinced. I'm like, really? He didn't even get up out of his chair.
I feel like everyone was high in this episode. On
something. You were on something. I love that Kelly's like, I never lost faith in you, Mikey.
Oh,
it's
God.
Like, oh, please.
That's because he banged you first.
Had to have. I don't know why else anybody would want to tell this part of the story this way.
Yeah, for someone who's as shitty taste as Kelly, of course he had to bang her first. She was probably the easiest one to win over.
Yeah, probably. She's the most hard up for it. Her kid's probably old enough to, like, do things without her now. She's probably got more time.
She's got so much time. When she's not shooting the show, what the fuck does she do?
I don't know. Is People's Republic... Like, we talked about this in the review. I'm like, is this even still, like, in existence?
I don't think so.
Does she even still do PR? What do we call it now? What is her business called that she does when Top Model is not filming? So if it's over, what is she going back to?
Nothing.
I mean, is there a savings and pension plan with Top Model?
Not when they're sending the models to Vegas for 2 days as part of their production budget. Highly doubt she has any sort of extra fringe benefits from it beyond just her paycheck and hoping that clears.
Right? And like
maybe that's why she's so ornery. Like, just
like
upset.
You had to go to Vegas this year.
And grumpy.
And
just giving such bad critique and feedback. And just her panel this week was even more obnoxious than... Usually I'm like, all right, strap in, because she's going to be annoying as fuck.
Mm-hmm.
But this week was like, I need, like, the type of harness that they put in race cars so that with like a rumble cage, because this is how terrible her commentary is. It was so annoying.
Very much so.
Her Lacey comment was stupid. I did like Tyra being like, oh, your arm all the way up here is just like a little bit tangled all up in this. She's like, you should have just been a little bit loose, which she was totally right. It did. If she brought her hand down a little bit, it would be less like, oh, I'm a dancer and this is my ballroom pose. But I thought that Lacey did a fine job considering the circumstances.
I thought she looked great in her photo. I thought she was giving like a face. She was giving face that wasn't like exactly the same as, like, you know, some of the things she's done before. I liked the movement of the dress. Like, you know, I think that everything was really kind of working for her in that picture. They just had to, like, be negative about her because they're still trying to create that storyline. Like, they're supposed to, like, as if there's still some mystery as to who's going to make it into the top. And I'm like, no, I really don't think there is. I just really don't.
Which is why, so, I mean, if you're listening to this, you've already watched this episode. The girl who something in the woods.
The girl who took a shot in the dark.
I thought, yeah, sure.
That was the title.
Oh, okay, I believe you. I believe.
But I'm like, who took a shot? Oh, I don't know.
Mame took a shot in the dark. Either way, so you've already watched this episode, so you know that the bottom two was Devin and Nyle, and so when the obvious conclusion of Nyle making it into the top 4, and before Tyra hands him over his photo, she's like, you need to like bring every millimeter of fierceness that you have, because those guys over there, they're pretty amazing. I was like, stop it.
Oh, please.
I would say that Mame and Lacey, yes, of course, they're both very amazing. Mikey, I don't, nope, I didn't get the same Kool-Aid that you guys got. I'm sorry, I cannot condone this. I can't stop rolling my eyes.
I think he's the one we're supposed to hate this season. They keep around too long.
Oh, my Lord. Like, he is 3 episodes past due.
Mm-hmm.
He's starting to get smelly. And someone
past
needs
his expiration date.
Yeah, you need to grab him off that shelf and throw him in the trash can, because I am sick of these shenanigans. Because they really are just shenanigans.
It's back to frying catfish in the bayou, buddy.
I think that's giving him a lot of credit.
Well, if he's a swamp person, you gotta get lots of catfish.
I guess. I don't know why.
Garbage fish in swamps?
That's true, but my mind automatically went to him, like, making catfish po' boy sandwiches for some reason.
Well, I don't see that.
Yeah. So.
I think maybe, over an open flame.
Yeah. Out in the middle of nowhere.
I have no idea where he lives, but he does mention that he's, like, the only guy in his family to graduate high school and not go to prison.
If this was supposed to make me upset or feel for you, I already assumed all of that anyway, so I don't feel bad for you. Knowing all of this, I guess I'm just more surprised that you haven't been to prison yet.
If they start talking next week, if the episode begins with him talking about the same kind of thing, then you obviously know that our prediction all along was accurate.
Yeah, this is true.
Because I don't see a lot of interviews with Mikey that, like, there's not a lot of variance in his confessional interviews.
I was going to say, it's all about him trying to bang whichever girl is in his eyesight.
Well, even the look of them, like, do you see that, like, there's, like, does it look like there's, like, 3 or 4 different time periods that they're editing together comments from, with, like...
Yeah, it's, like, the same 3 shirts.
I'm like, I don't think there's as many of him in different times as there are of the other people.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like with him... I don't know. We'll have to see how it works out. I would hate to make a stupid prediction now. But, I don't know. I get the feeling that, like, we're not getting as many different views of him that you would get if he had lasted all the way through.
Let's hope that next week is his last week.
I hope so. That's his exit.
Yeah, but that's a really steep dive from, second.
But it's the final 4. Like,
yeah,
even one
true.
tiny mistake, if everyone else is excellent, that's enough to, like, sorry, you were not the best. You were the worst.
Well, even though Nyle had a hard time with this photo shoot, I didn't feel like it showed in his photo. I thought he did just as well as everybody else.
Only, like, Tyra thought he should have danced more. He should have done more of this. I'm like, again, standing on Apple Box. Nobody else was dancing. And the one person who did say that, looked like they were dancing, you didn't like... You
zinged them for it.
You zinged them for looking like they were dancing. So... You are not making any sense right now. I feel like maybe they were just so tired they didn't even realize they were contradicting themselves at this point.
Maybe. I mean, I hope that's the excuse for what Kelly was saying to Devin, because even though this was Devin's swan song episode, the way she talked to him was really shitty. And I know that we've talked our fair amount of shit about Devin since he's been on this show.
But we're not sitting right in front of him, like, while he's on camera and saying horrible things.
Yeah, and also
to
what Kelly
feel
said
bad right when he's getting filmed.
Yeah, and knowing that he's gonna, like, you don't have to kick him while he's down. You know he's gonna go home this week. Why did you have to act like this?
I know,
and just
for real.
Even the way that she was talking to him, it just made us feel bad. We don't usually. I at least felt bad.
Fragrance should have been called Delusion, and I'm like, Jinx Monsoon already did that joke in season 5 of Drag Race, Kelly. You're late.
But it wasn't a joke. I think that she meant to say it as being mean.
Well, it was meant to be a mean joke, only nobody was laughing except her.
Yeah,
and on the inside, apparently.
She doesn't show emotion.
She doesn't have them anymore.
It's true.
I don't know if she ever had them. Did she?
Is contempt an emotion?
No.
She just... If they do bring this back onto a streaming platform, I fucking hope they get rid of her, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, she needs to go. There's got to be so many other people they could get in her place who could use a regular paycheck.
I Just bring back... Why doesn't she have a retired model on there anymore still?
Because she treated all of them so horribly.
And there can only be one, and she wants it to be the one that gives these, like, fake words
they have to
and
be
posing
too
tips.
malleable to her will. So, like, that's why Paulina Porskova didn't last very long.
Which is a shame.
Because she was she was, like, the only one who could hold a candle with Janice Dickinson. Only she didn't seem as stupid as Janice Dickinson. So she was actually...
Well, she didn't play the camera the way that Janice Dickinson does.
Well, Janice Dickinson was genuinely pretty dumb in some important ways. And I didn't think Paulina Porskova seemed like, she was European, so she probably had a better education as a child than Janice Dickinson did as a kid in the U.S. So there could be that aspect of it where, like, she actually just isn't as dumb as Janice. And also had the, like, supermodel credentials. I would like to see her back. She won't be back, of course.
No, I don't think that you could trick anybody into
Twiggy's not coming back.
Yeah.
Who else was there? Nyle. Nigel.
Oh, I was like...
Not Nyle. Nile's still there. Nigel is probably not coming back.
World-renowned photographer Nigel Barker.
Sexy Nigel Barker.
Swoon.
I don't know where he's doing now because I think his spin-off of Top Model is...
The Face?
Not coming back.
That's a shame. I like that show, too.
That was entertaining.
And it filled the void of Top Model in the winter.
Right? It was, like, right in between, so, like, before the next cycle came out. Like, with how quickly this cycle came out after the last one, I was like, really? Like, it's getting canceled? Like, the turnaround was so quick between the cycles that I was like, it seemed like you weren't tired of this, so, we'll just keep praying. I'll light candles at church for
Prayer
streaming.
circle for Top Model coming back to a streaming service tonight, guys.
Yeah. Forever and always until it is back. It can't go. It can't. How can she be back in other platforms but not this one?
I know. Is her talk show really doing that well?
I don't know, but I don't want to watch that if I have
no,
this.
I don't.
Maybe that's the plan.
I don't want to watch...
Maybe she's like, everyone needs their crazy tire fix. Now you have to watch my talk show to get it.
No, I don't want to. It sounds like The View, but with, like, her and Chrissy Teigen and, like, some other people I don't care about.
Yeah, I know.
Josie, who used to be a judge on the show, or at least has been, like, a guest judge on things before.
It's all very unfortunate, I must say.
Fab Life will not fill the void the way that Top Model is. It just won't. You don't eliminate anybody. You're not making anybody cry. There's no terrible photo shoots. There's no silly mini challenges. What? You want me to watch you talk? No.
I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't even exactly say that we were rooting for Devin to stick around.
We were not.
But it's ironic that he would go home when he really performed his best. They finally got tired of him when he actually did well, and it wasn't part of the story at that time, so they just had to, like, pretend like he didn't do well.
I know. They should have...
And it seemed like he knew, too, because his attitude during that whole judging was very, like, we filmed this 3 times, I already know it's coming, and I'm trying to just, like, look like I don't know, and I'm not upset right now.
They should have just framed it as too little too late, honestly.
Right away.
But
no delusions. And it wasn't even close when they did that.
Yeah, because the only people that seem delusional are the judges talking about how this photo was not good.
I was genuinely surprised. I'm like, really? You're going to go that far away from reality?
One thing I do wish is that, you know how when they're calling up everybody that does make the cut before the bottom 2, how you can see everybody's individual score? I wish we could actually see their individual scores for the people in the bottom 2 as well, instead of this weird ticker thing where we don't really quite know where these points are coming from.
That's true.
Because I would be very curious to see how they scored it. I mean, he lost by like 2 or 3 full points, where in the past it has been by like tenths of a point for a lot of people.
Yeah, this was like at least 3 or 4 points. So
but he did get the lowest challenge score as well.
So that combined, but like Nyle he only got an 8 on his challenge score,
which was so
really
weird. I couldn't believe that Lacey scored over him
higher than Nyle, and you didn't even really like Lacey's idea. Like, what?
Yeah, her idea of how to distribute the book was in copy shops, which I
love copy shops. Like,
you know, you can put things on Amazon's bookstore, like on their Kindle store, for nothing, and you just make the like. She didn't even think that far ahead. And that's not a dig on Lacey. She would need, a little guidance. I don't know how you publish a book, and I felt like Kelly's question was a little unfair. Just because how is she supposed to make this poster board presentation?
How is she supposed to
and
know
then
that?
research, and then research publication stuff.
She doesn't even have access to the internet or any research
materials
to look any of this up. So
she has no way to figure it out.
When did she learn how to do this? And you expect her to know, and you criticize her for not knowing something she's never learned. Well, what you just gave them the creative license to come up with any idea. She came up with something that's probably a little aspirational for herself, I would imagine, as well. I mean, writing a book's not exactly something she can just get up and do. But nonetheless, I was like, well, what exactly are you expecting? Like, you have very unrealistic expectations. To be this upset by...
It's fine to have unrealistic expectations, but when somebody does provide the answer to all of your questions, you don't ding them for doing that, which I felt like they did to Nyle, which... He already knows how it's going to be distributed. He already has a vague idea of how much it's going to cost. Oh, you get an 8, though, even though you've already answered all of our questions. And because Kelly thinks that you should spend all of your money on 6 months of PR and not on developers or engineers.
That's a really low number. Like, that won't even get you 6 months of a publicist.
That doesn't make any fucking sense.
Like,
and $100,000 for an app is way too much money. You don't need that. With the $2,500, he could launch that fucking app in his sleep.
I mean, there's so many other options that do not require him to spend $100,000 on just that. I don't know what world she thinks. But also,
why $100,000? They're giving them $2,500 of seed money. That is a way lower figure. We're not in the triple digits here. We're only doing $2,500. Like, we're not getting close to like $500,000 or anything like that. Not even a quarter.
This is a
quarter of a quarter.
This is like to create like a set of business cards.
I was about to say that, and start the website.
You know, like that's all this money is really going to do. Like, then you still have to do so much other work to get any of these things to go. I'm like, how do you think Mikey's going to put together the production of his tank tops and socks? Who's designing them?
His artist friends.
Where are they going to be? They didn't ask any of these questions of him. Where are you going to sell them? What shops are going to carry them? Like, nothing.
But his idea has legs, so they don't need to ask those questions.
Yours had the most legs, and I'm like, your Harvard business degree is revoked, Tyra Banks.
Oh, my gosh.
In this day and age, you think that whatever it was that he was doing that he has absolutely... You didn't even ask how he plans to make this a reality.
He didn't do any market research. Do you know how many, like, not artisanal, but, like... homemade sock companies and like tank top people there are? Like, this is not specific enough to actually take off or do anything.
Oh, I want them because they're called talks.
No one's gonna know what the fuck that means. Tonks. Nobody knows. Influenced by the lifestyle of Mikey, that doesn't mean anything to anybody.
Who's Mikey? Like, if you didn't watch this show, you would have no idea and not understand why you wanted to be a part of this, like, thing that looks like a 7-year-old's bedroom before their mom screamed at them to clean up the floor. Like, that's literally what his poster looked like. It looked like a child's bedroom floor with, like, the socks and the tank tops thrown all over it and, like, random childish drawings, like, strewn about.
Did he have drawings on there? Because it looked blank other than the stuff that he nailed up there.
He had the logo drawn out.
Oh, right. It looked like he drew it with the hand that he doesn't usually write with.
And then there was that other, like, poster board with, like, the slogan written on it that was written all sloppy, like he...
I think that's part of his aesthetic.
It was really disturbing that they're like, what I love about your brand is that it's authentic, you live your brand. And I'm like, by authentic, you're literally, like,
is it because he's literally wearing a tank top and socks that he's living his quote-unquote brand? Because to be fair to Lacey, not only did they not give her any sort of guidance or about how to publish and distribute the book, but they also didn't ask, like, oh, is it going to be digital only? Are you going to do print and digital? What about a book tour? How do you plan on promote? They didn't ask her any of those questions, just like they didn't ask Mikey any of those fucking questions. But they definitely decided to reserve the harsher critiques for Nyle and his well-thought-out idea. And, I mean, I know we're not talking about Mame, but that's only because they harped on her being nervous for so long that they didn't end up talking about anything relevant, so there's nothing to really cover.
I still don't even remember what it is that her business idea was.
Something about jewelry?
That's all I got, was something about selling jewelry, and that was,
and that's not necessarily her fault. The way that it was edited together, it made it seem like she didn't have her shit together, because we were supposed to be scared for Mame this week. But we weren't, because it was written in the stars that Devin was going home. DM is finally just M.
Oh, God, it should just be all nothing.
It should just be,
It should be, because they're all gone. So there's no letters, there's no sound.
I agree.
But unfortunately, Mikey's still there. But at least Nyle, we knew he was not going anywhere. I mean, there was no mystery or danger in this at all for me.
Mm-mm.
I mean, sometimes you get that feeling where you're like, oh my god, she's so insane and these people are so stupid. Like, you never know what they think might be a good idea, and it might be that this amazing person goes home now. But I'm like, I didn't even have that fear. Even that irrational fear that I'm prone to was completely gone and non-existent when watching this. I'm like, I know that Niall's not going. There's like no mystery here. You're not fooling me. Nothing you did this episode fooled me. Again, allergic.
Allergic to Mikey. Happens every time. Well, now you know our thoughts on the girl who took a shot in the dark. In the woods?
Yeah, in the dark.
In the dark woods?
Took a shot in the dark. Shot in the dark, you know? Like, you don't know
No, I get the expression. I just don't care to commit the title to memory, apparently. As always, you should tweet us your thoughts and let us know what you think about the episode. We'd like to shout out to our special Twitter follower, Anya, who hollered at us this week and told us that we should, as soon as this current cycle finishes, we should go back and talk about some of our favorite seasons of Top Model days of yore, when it was actually, it had more of a heart and some passion.
Well, we could even go over, like, just doing the same thing for, like, every single cycle.
Go back and watch every cycle week to week.
Cycle 1.
Just go.
We'll binge watch together.
I think it would just be a little bit sad to, like, think about Adrian Curry now, though.
Well, we could, we'll work it out. That is going to be sad. There's a lot of material there. It's like 15 years. This is 15 years of life.
I think that's why it's even harder to believe that it's, like, it took 15 years for her to cancel this. You didn't do it after cycle 1. Why are you bothering to do it now? Just let it go. If Survivor can keep going, I think Top Model should be able to.
I think so, too. Why not?
Well, you can tweet at us. I'm at Marg, she wrote, and Smear is at Samiraculous.
Samir Miraculous. Miraculous. I don't know. It doesn't even make sense to me when I say it anymore, but it's too late to change it now.
You're hopefully either subscribed to us, you're downloading us, or you're listening to us on the Gambit Digital YouTube page. Or, let's see.
Of course, we're on YouTube. We're on YouTube. Yes, we are on YouTube, what you just said. We're also on iTunes.
Yes.
You look us up there.
You can just hit subscribe, and it'll just show up every week.
In your podcast feed, it'll just pop up there.
And if you're doing that, please rate and leave us a review or something. Just bolster up our subscriptions and let us know that you're listening. You can find our reviews at gambitmag.com. You can also find the Gambit Digital Twitter on Twitter.
Duh. Wow, you're really feeling it today.
I know,
but you were a little under the weather, so you've been a trooper.
Yeah, I'm surprised I haven't blown up my vocal cords yelling about Mikey in this fucking episode.
I know. I had to knock a whole star off for that disgustingness.
But you wouldn't know that unless you read our reviews, so make sure you go do that. And until next week, we bid you bye.